everyone, it's the amazing people of Glastonbury, episode 14 or 15, one of the two. And today I've got lovely Gina with me from the Glastonbury Community Fridge. Gina, would you mind telling us how the Community Fridge came to be and how the process got started and where your inspiration came from?
So there are nearly 100 community fridges across the country. So the idea is not a new one. Frome had one 3 years ago, and it was put there to use up surplus food and to give food to other people within the community. But what really triggered it off for me to go and find out a bit more about it is I do deliveries for the Bridging the Gap Food Bank, which is a fantastic organisation. They help so many people in Glastonbury and in Street, but we put together packages and they get taken out to people's homes and we deliver them on the doorstep, and sometimes the packages contain things that the people either can't eat, don't want, can't cook. So I got asked on many occasions, if the stuff in the package that we can't use up, is there a way we can give it back to the food bank? And it's not always easy to give it back to the food bank, particularly if it's fresh, because the food bank doesn't do any fresh stuff. So there was nowhere for it to come back to. So there's this idea, how would you, if there's food that we're giving to people but they can't use, how could we redistribute it?
Yeah. So
the idea of the community fridge research or looking into it really came from that. And talking to loads of people, because there are lots of people over the last 3-4 years who've tried to start a community fridge in Glastonbury. I spoke to a couple of friends of mine who were really interested in doing that, and they put me in contact with the council, and the town council really loved the idea of getting a community fridge up and going, but they didn't really know how to do it. So they offered us the space, and that's the main thing. So when you talk to people in other towns who want to set up a community fridge, the big stumbling block is where to put it. So it has to be somewhere secure, accessible, has to have electricity, has to be dry, has to be, people have to be able to get in and out.
Easy to access, and what's really nice about ours is it's so central.
Mm-hmm.
The Glastonbury Community Fridge, for anyone wondering, is just outside of the town hall. It's got a beautiful little green door, and our fridge has the most beautiful rainbow banners on it.
It's a really nice building. Really nice, and it was just a disused space, so it was an empty space. So we looked into it, and I spoke to a few people that really wanted to get it going. We really G'd each other up. The town council really supported me to push forward with it, and we applied for a few different grants, but the Glastonbury Trust came through with a grant for us. So they very kindly paid for a lovely fridge, which, as you know, it's a really shiny, pretty, big kind of catering fridge. There's some really nice, sturdy, solid shelves, and to get the area made good. And a carpenter friend of mine called Matthew, who tithed his time to board the space out and make it all really lovely. So it was a community joint effort, lots of people coming together to get it set up and get it going. So it was really good fun to do.
And it's really nice that anyone can volunteer. All it is half an hour a week. You go in, you clean and make it spotless. How can people help? If anyone's just hearing about the project now, is there a way people can join up to be a part of it, or to sort of lend their support if they'd like to, or anything like that?
So there's a Facebook page. If you stick Glastonbury Community Fridge in Facebook, there's a page there with links onto the website, an email address which is looked after by volunteers, so you can contact us through there or put comments or thoughts or feedback on there. There's a website which is glastonburycommunityfridge.com, which has information and links that you can go to get details as well. And for people that aren't necessarily quite so online, there's a book in the cupboard. You can go and write your suggestions and thoughts and comments in there. We're still looking for volunteers on, we have a rota for maintenance for the fridge, and that's people, as you mentioned, going in half an hour a week, where the guys, just based on the environmental health standards, they take everything out the fridge, we do a deep clean, make sure all the food's in date and that everything's okay in there. We do that every single day, and then we've got another team of volunteers who are kind of quietly behind the scenes, who go out to the various supermarkets and food places and collect surplus food and put it in the fridge in the evening. So if you're ever walking through Glastonbury, at about 9 o'clock-ish at night, you might see a team of people in cars pulling food out and carefully stacking the shelves and things with them as well.
That's amazing. What's been like the biggest blessing of watching the fridge come to life? Has there been anything sort of unexpectedly beautiful that you weren't realising would come to the surface?
I think it's not so much beautiful. I think what really took it kind of really brought me down to earth with a huge bump. When we first opened, myself and the other volunteers spent some time around the fridge just talking to people that were using it. And whilst there was an expectation from the community, you know, people, if someone's passing by and they want to grab a loaf of bread or grab it's there for everybody. I spoke to so many people who were very matter of fact about the fact that they just wouldn't have had any dinner that night. They wouldn't have had anything to eat. And they quite frequently will go for a day without eating anything because they don't have any cash or any access to food. And I'm not just talking about the guys that live in the vans or that live rough. It's the people living in houses in Glastonbury who are, you know, sometimes I spoke to a woman who'd been living a couple of days off the beans in her garden that were growing because she didn't have any food at that time. People go through weird cycles of food poverty where they can't necessarily access the food bank, or there's a delay getting access to food or money, and just to have somewhere they can go and grab some pasta, some bread, some, you know, enough bits and pieces and vegetables and stuff to be able to make a meal.
Yeah.
Has just tidied people past those days. And I had, until then, I had no idea that we had so many people in the community that were in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the fridge tides me through sometimes.
Yes.
Between rent and that kind of thing, sometimes you just have a week where you think, oh, I didn't budget quite right, and it's so nice to be able to go somewhere that takes care of everyone. And then sometimes you've got an abundance and you think, oh, hey, I can share this with the fridge, and it sort of cycles back, which is really beautiful.
I've noticed people putting a lot of stuff in there as well, particularly so I've had friends and neighbours who maybe I didn't do this, but a lot of people did a little bit of cheeky stockpiling at the beginning of COVID, so they've got cupboards full of flour or beans or pasta or stuff that they're never ever going to get through in the garage, so those things have been coming down into the fridge as well to share them out so that people have got access to them. And also the stuff off the tree, so one of my neighbours has filled the bottom of the fridge up twice with all the apples from his tree. I've had loads of my own pears in there. I've had tomatoes that people have bought in monster courgettes, like courgettes this big, huge, great big things in there that wouldn't get eaten otherwise. And that's, I mean, I hate seeing food wasted. I mean, nobody likes seeing food wasted at all. But the idea of anything going off whilst we've got people hungry is just absolutely crap. So I love the no food waste, and you know, God forbid if we ever got there, it'd be fantastic. No hunger. We should have people in our community that are hungry.
Oh, it's such a beautiful way to take care of each other and to make Glastonbury feel banded together again. I've had a lot of people sort of come in and say, like, oh, this is so nice, it's such a nice way to take care of each other, like during this crisis. And I think, yeah, but like even after the crisis, it's such a beautiful thing to be part of.
Well, I'm hoping it'll keep going, because the fridges way predate anything to do with COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of them, sadly, around the country closed down during COVID because they were in churches and libraries and places that stopped being accessible. We're really lucky that ours is the way it is. It's got its own entrance. It's completely self-contained.
Yeah.
So it will hopefully survive, even if we go into a further lockdown.
Yeah.
It'll hopefully keep going. But that's really, you know, if anyone visiting it, there are lots of notices there, and it can seem a little bit in your face where it's sort of, you know, wash your hands and don't touch stuff unless you're taking it and all that kind of stuff. But it's
just to be
to
mindful.
Keep it above board with environmental health, to keep it sanitised and keep it safe for everybody, and to keep it going.
Yeah. Gina, how long have you been living in Glastonbury for?
So me and Mark moved here just over 7 years ago, I think.
What called you to this town?
So my husband Mark is quite an eccentric character, and we'd visited Glastonbury together a few times. I really loved it here. I like the energy, I like the light, you know, the stuff that people normally say.
Yeah.
I had the luxury at the time that I was able to start working from home more. So previously we lived over in Bedfordshire. And that balance of the fact that I loved it here and slightly unusual husband who could be himself, because in Glastonbury he kind of fits right in, just seemed like a really good place to be, and to bring our son up. So yeah, we moved here 7 years ago.
Beautiful. If you look at Glastonbury as like a mystery school, like a magnifying glass that brings to the forefront like all the big life lessons you need to learn and grow from, what would you say has been like your most insightful experience, or like your most like
oh god, there's been so many. I think I mean both of us as a couple we've grown here quite a lot, but our personalities have grown. I feel since moving here that the first, people say this quite often, the first couple of years when you move here, it was almost like being in a washing machine. Everything gets thrown up and thrown out, and it's really, really, really tough. A couple of years in, we got married in the Goddess Hall. In the Goddess Temple. We had a proper Glastonbury wedding with a cake off the high street, the flowers and the whole kind of stuff and all that, which was absolutely amazing. And then kind of settled into this way of being. So I think for me the biggest thing is kind of feeling, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but finding out who I am, being comfortable in myself.
Yeah.
And just being, it feels like home. It felt like home within about 6 months of moving here actually. But I feel at home here, and I actually really care about the community here, the people here, all of the different weird sectors of people. There's all different like cliques of different sort of characters. So.
We all kind of coexist and fit together into like this beautiful little tribe.
I think so, yeah. And yeah, there's different things that bring us together. Food being one of them. Yeah, that's definitely my passion at the moment.
I think food is like the most ultimate universal love language, because like whoever you are, if someone comes up to you and like gives you something delicious to eat, it's like a hug.
I think it'd be really nice if we could find some way. I know again people have tried this a few times, to have some sort of a community dining space. So like we have the ashram on the high street that can bring the food out, which we're still doing at the moment. But just have somewhere people can go and eat, whether they got money or not. Like they were doing in the assembly rooms for a while, which was fantastic. That was a great venture. But I think that's something that Glastonbury would really benefit from.
Yeah, and everyone can take it in turns to cook, and it's such a nice way of meeting people that you wouldn't otherwise interact with.
Exactly. Yeah, would be really good fun.
What's been the most Glastonbury thing you've ever seen on the high street?
Oh, there were so many. I think there was one. I think it was about a year after we moved here. There were at least 3 people on the high street who were Jesus. They were absolutely, completely Jesus. But there was one who was a regular naked Jesus, and there was one that was a dancing, sometimes naked Jesus who used to eat the flowers on the high street. So he used to dance quite a lot on the high street as being Jesus and eating the flowers out of the baskets, which I think pissed some people off because they spent a lot of time planting the
Taking
flowers.
Care of the flowers, yeah.
But just millions. I mean, I think probably going up the high street, my husband is one of the major. He had not a tantrum, he had a moment outside his shop last week and smashed a guitar on the pavement to pieces, like proper rock star kind of beating the guitar on the pavement, which was quite impressive. So.
Whoa, I didn't realise that. I didn't know that.
Oh no, it wasn't in anger. He was just showing off because he's cool like that.
Well,
oh god, he's gonna watch this. When you
own the coolest music shop in Glastonbury, you're allowed to have the art rock and roll.
He has got the coolest, but then he has got the only music shop in Glastonbury. It's cool.
Last question: if you could share a piece of like wisdom or insight or love with the rest of the world, to the rest of the world, for anyone watching this, whether it's tonight or 10 years from now or next year, wherever they are in the world. Right from the heart of Babylon in Glastonbury, like what would your message be?
Oh gosh, I think listen to each other. Just really listen to each other. Everyone's got something really interesting to say, and they've got some wisdom to share. If you really listen to each other, we'll find out what we all need. Because deep down, it's all quite similar. Really, we all need the same thing. I think, which is a bit of love, care, and sort of
TLC.
Togetherness and stuff. So, but yeah, I think listening to each other.
And it's cool to share.
Hey, sharing is good. Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you, Gina.
Cool.
So to anyone watching who might like to, please check out the links for the community fridge and come by one day just to say hi. Maybe pick up some bread or some apples, or like just come and see us. We love meeting new people. Thanks a lot, Gina.
Thank you, Ria.